Good morning, everyone. I was just asking those that were on a little bit early if there was any, one or two things they were kind of looking to get out of it. I'm sure we all have some different experiences as far as you may not have had a listing before. Maybe you've had several listings and you just want to refresh yourself. I will tell you that every time I teach this class, and I mean, I'm such a nerd, so I watch every single class and listen to every podcast I possibly can. But I just feel like we always need to be learning and getting better and honing our craft. And every time I go through the materials, I'm like, that is something that I teach on, but maybe I'm not implementing myself or wasn't implementing as well as I should have been when I was selling a lot of real estate. And I still try and keep fresh with my skills because I'm trying to help coach and teach you guys. But I just feel like there's always so much we can learn. And I will say, I actually just got back in late last night. So bright-eyed this morning, but was at a Sotheby's International Realty Mastermind with other leaders in Arizona the last couple of days. And every time I am with other Sotheby's International Realty affiliates, I'm so impressed by our brand, our marketing, and just being a part of such an amazing group of people. And I get excited over and over about the brand. And so there's some things I want to share with you today that I haven't necessarily had in some of my past classes, just because it's fresh on my mind. I feel like, the listing process, there's so many steps, but like Richard was kind of saying, if you have a process, and you spend some time. So what we're going to go over today, there's actually quite a bit of homework. And I feel like a lot of people don't take the time to really go back and do it. And then you have an appointment and you're like, I'm not prepared. And you kind of wait till you have an appointment to be prepared. And then you're kind of crazy. So what I really recommend, and I know everybody is busy, but if you take, and this is, I talk to myself about, some of the things I need to work on, is if I can, plan an hour or 2 hours a week to kind of work on some of these processes. And then the more consistently you start doing it, the more confident you will feel. Listing presentations and the process it's about process and it's about confidence. And the more practice you get, the more confidence you will have. And so please feel free to unmute yourself. I signed in on my iPad as myself too, so I can just watch your chat on a different screen. So I'm not trying to toggle back and forth on my computer. So if you don't want to unmute yourself, feel free to leave a chat and I'll try and I will try and read those. But I really want you to get out of it the best that you can. And I think, being a part of Sotheby's International Realty, we are an incredible listing company. And I will tell you, looking at the stats with the other sales managers not that long ago, our company, Briggs Freeman Sotheby's International Realty, is almost 50% listings and almost 50% buyers. And that is one of the highest of any brokerages. And I think the reason is because of our beautiful marketing and everything that we do. So I'm excited to kind of talk to you about some of those passion points that maybe you'll be able to share on your appointment. I feel like from talking to a lot of our agents, some of the weakest things that is that we're not able to communicate and articulate our brand very well. And to Richard's point, as you're going in, even as a newer agent, or maybe you're not doing listings constantly. I think right now, listings are low, as we know. So we also may be a little rusty on our process just because we're not out there having these conversations all the time with sellers. And so I think that's why we have to brush up on these tools and stay fresh. So when the opportunity does come around, we're ready. But even as a newer agent, you guys have the brand, but if you're not able to articulate it, then it doesn't help you. So we're going to dive into that today. This presentation is packed full. I have so much stuff, and I've honestly thought about dividing this up into 2 classes just because it's a lot. So I know it's a lot, but it's all good. So it's so hard to cut out material. But again, feel free to stop me. This is about you guys and what you want out of it. And so let me just share my screen really quick. And I'm sorry, I got talking and I got so excited, so I apologize. Anybody else, as I'm sharing my screen, want to jump in and just tell me something that you're really wanting to try and get out of this today? I want to make sure that this is what you are, what you're wanting. Nope. Okay. All right. Well, let's jump in. So our objective, what we're going to talk about is two objectives. One, learn how to become a great listing agent and utilize our resources and our brand to stand out from your competition, as I was just sharing. And two, really try and learn a step-by-step process that will help you win and sell more listings. And let me put you guys on presentation mode. Is that better for you guys? Hold on just a sec.
You know, sometimes I find it easier to not be in presentation, but it's fine. You can read it. It's fine. Just like
it's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Don't worry about it.
All right. If you guys can't see it, please let me know. So it's really important to know the value of the Sotheby's International Realty brand. And what I was saying earlier, our brand really is a gift. You know, when we were talking amongst the leaders, they were sharing stories. And I know some of you have your own stories of how people want the lifestyle of Sotheby's International Realty. They want the lifestyle that goes along with the Sotheby's auction house, even if it's not something that they might be able to attain right now. It's about that lifestyle, and that so many people love having the blue sign in their yard, and it's almost like achieving a status. And I know sometimes that sounds a little bit crazy, but you hear story after story of that. And so just know that we get to be a part of something special. And one of the things, I'm not going to show Thomas Wright's, I tried to limit a little bit of his video. Highly encourage you to go into the Success Center, and at the end, I'll tell you where to find it. Go back and watch when he was in Dallas. I believe it was in 2019. He did, kind of a full presentation in Highland Park Theater, and talked through a lot. I'm not going to include a lot today because I feel like it's something you can go and do on your own. And what I want to take is the practical side of that today. But he starts out talking about our brand as a gift. And he also talks about that 20% of our business should come from Sotheby's International Realty referrals. So I just want to put that in here because we need to be working our relationships within the network. I just read a stat that 5.2, hold on, let me make sure I'm getting this right. I think it's 5.2 billion. Yes, 5.2 billion referrals in 2021 within the Sotheby's International Realty Network. And that increased nearly 80% from the previous year, which is amazing. So, and the average sales price is more than 1.2 million. And so I just think that is such a gift to be a part of. And so I just want to encourage you, we're not going to talk about that much today, but that we're in a relationship business. And that doesn't just mean with our clients, it means with agents within the Sotheby's International Realty Network. And it also means with local realtors. We need to have good relationships with people that we're working with every day. So I'm going to skip that one. And I just gave you a little nutshell of that one. So talking about becoming a great listing agent, we do know it is about getting listings. A lot of the buyer business it comes off of getting listings. That's naturally going to come. And a few points that I want to point out is our industry really suffers from mediocrity. It's really, it's easy for everyone always thinks we're the same. And if we are all the same, who are they going to hire? They're going to hire the one with the highest price or the lowest commission. So if we're not articulating the value that we're able to bring from ourselves, from Briggs Freeman, and then from the Sotheby's International Realty side, if there is no difference, then it comes down to you lowering your commission. And I know that's where the real estate industry we're struggling with right now, right? We're seeing more co-brokes offering less than the normal what we are hoping and used to in this market. And it's easy to just say, oh, I'll just start doing the same thing. But we are different from everyone else. We do work Even if you don't sell a ton of luxury properties, we work and are associated with the luxury brand. And we say luxury is at every price point, and we want to be different. And so I have these conversations with my agents all the time because we're talking about, hey, how do I go into this conversation? I know that they're going to ask me to lower my commission right away. I'm up against this agent who always lowers their commission. I have this conversation weekly with agents in my offices. And so we have to be able to articulate our difference. I know there's situations where that may happen that we need to, but I just think when we walk into a listing appointment with a lower commission than what we deserve, we're hurting ourselves. And it's funny because I hear that Sotheby's International Realty is the most expensive company, and we are probably one of the most expensive, but we also do so much more for our clients than most agents. So people will pay for luxury. We pay for BMWs and Mercedes. We pay for Tiffany's jewelry. We pay for brand name things because we know luxury, we know quality, right? So I just want to encourage you guys to remind you that you are associated with, I'll tell you, Inman in 2021 just announced that Sotheby's International Realty was awarded the top luxury brokerage. And I think that's a gift. We're a part of a gift. So anyways, I just want to, I will move on. I'll get off my soapbox. But I just want to encourage you that it's exciting, right? And when you're excited about it, your clients will get excited about it, okay? So first of all, the process starts before you ever meet the client. So this is the pre-listing process is so important for you to stand out from your competition. You need to build or cement your reputation and trust before you ever walk in the door. This will help you, one, gain their trust, to set you apart from other realtors, because a lot of realtors are just running in the door and not having a whole pre-listing process. And three, it's going to shorten your time of being in an appointment. Instead of having like these big 2 long-hour conversations, we can shorten those time frames. Okay. And then we're going to talk about the listing appointment and the presentation. So first of all, I want to start with the pre-listing interview and the consultation. So if any of you guys are ninjas or familiar with Ninja, this is part of Ninja, but I think it's so important. It needs to be, whether you've gone to the Ninja installation or not, which I highly, highly, highly encourage. But if you haven't, this is still part of the process. We want to make sure that we're building rapport using the Ford questions. And the Ford is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And when you go through Ninja, they talk a little bit more about how to use those questions to build relationship. Because if they don't trust us, if we're all about the transaction, then we're missing the boat. So it starts with the Ford. Listen to the tone of the client. I think I know I'm going to do a lot of talking today, so I'm not going to model this very well, but we need to do a lot of listening. We have got to be better question askers. And honestly, I think this is a life skill. I think it's important in relationships in general that we need to do a better job of listening, asking the right questions, and then listening instead of constantly interrupting or thinking about the answer and not fully listen to them. But ask more questions to clarify. So a common question we ask a lot is, tell me more about that, right? Or explain a little bit more. I'd love to, keep going on and tell me what you're thinking, right? So the pre-listing interview, there's actually a form. It starts with foundational questions that are easy. Everybody knows their name. Everybody knows their email, their phone number, their address. Everybody knows, how to describe their house, right? And then it builds up to deeper questions that will set you up for success at your listing consultation. And I like to say consultation versus presentation. I'll use both words, but it really is about a consultation. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, but it really is about an opportunity for y'all to see if you're a right match, right? So this is how you can set it up. If it's all right with you, I'd like to ask you a few questions and then set up a time for us to get together. These questions will help me prepare for our meeting and really should just take about 10 minutes. Is this an okay time with you? So you can make it more conversational. You know, anytime you're reading some sort of a script, you need to make it authentic and genuine and make it yours. Otherwise, you sound like a robot, and we don't want to sound like robots. So this is a pre-listing interview, and I'm not going to go through question by question. Like I said, and what I just read is right at the beginning. It has the foundational questions, and then it will go into the deeper questions. That resource is actually on BF Office, and it is under the listing resources tab. So a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today are under that listing resource tab. And listen, I am always available. So if you need something and you're not sure where to go, feel free to reach out to me anytime. So don't hesitate. Doesn't matter what office you're in, I'm happy to help you. So just a tip that I really encourage you to do is to have pre-listing interview forms as well as buyer consultation forms. So I would have both, have them in a folder, have 5 or so printed out, carry them with you, because you may get an inbound call from a referral or a past client. And if they're calling you right then, they have time to talk right then. Okay. So if you're driving or you're, out and about doing something, if you have those handy and you're able to pull over for a few minutes and just talk to them right then, that's the perfect time. Sometimes we don't make the time right then, and then it's hard to get them and hard to get 5 or 10 minutes with them on the phone or play phone tag or whatever. So I just encourage you to be prepared. And then of course, when you're making the outbound call, to have those in front of you. I'm such a note scribbler. You may like it, type it on your iPad or your computer, your notes, use your notes on your phone, whatever works for you. But I go back to those a lot because it will help you to have the right information going into the appointment. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Highly encourage you to practice it. It's super easy. All the stuff is right there on the sheet, but we need to make it genuine and authentic and make it conversational. We're not just going question, 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 question. Sometimes we may need to stop and say, oh, tell me more about that. Or they say, oh, I'm moving. One of the questions we ask is, why are you moving? And maybe they're moving to another state to go, or maybe they're moving in state, but they want to be closer to maybe an adult child, or maybe they want to be closer to a certain school for a kid. Oh, tell me more about that. So there's conversation that happens. Any questions about any of that on the pre-listing consultation? Okay. So the pre-listing presentation is super important. And what we're going to go into is, this is actually material that you can drop off to the seller ahead of time. Maybe 24 hours or 48 hours. You could drop it off on the door, or you could mail it to them. If you're going to mail it to them, I would put it like in a FedEx envelope, or UPS, something that they're going to see, and then make sure you follow up and let them know that it's there either way. Or the third way is, a lot of times we do it digitally, and Thomas Wright does a lot of this digitally. But he talks about print as well. So I think there is beauty, and I say this in all my classes, of mixing print and digital. Not everyone's tech savvy, and maybe you want all print. That's perfectly fine. Maybe everybody is, I want all digital, and that's fine too. But I do find that people like to touch and feel things, and we have such beautiful stuff that we can provide to them. I think it sets you apart to be able to mix it up. But again, find your process, find what works for you. But when we're providing material to them ahead of time, whether it's digitally or print, it sets you apart from other agents. Probably right now, especially, probably 95% of agents are not doing this. It extends the conversation and engages the seller. I know you guys feel at our company that we have so many tools and so many resources that it's overwhelming. So imagine how our sellers feel also. And one of my slides I had earlier, I said, don't be a blackjack dealer. And Thomas Wright says that in his video, which is so funny. But sometimes he says, that he's had clients say, sitting across the table from someone, and they're like sitting there, like dealing their papers out to them, like, look at this, look at this, look at this. And so we don't want to be a blackjack dealer, but we do want to provide them with the right information and show them why we feel like we're able to be the best listing agent to help them accomplish their goals. So providing the material up front really helps us extend that conversation, engage the seller. It shows you're prepared. It shows you have a process. And this is where we've got to spend time on the process up front. And if we do the same thing every time, it will really help us, one, have more confidence. Two, everybody is so busy. So if you spend time in your process up front, then you're not having to think about it every time. And Thomas Wright says in the videos, he's like, you know, when people are preparing for a listing appointment because they're running around the office like crazy, printing papers and, you know, trying to get everything together. But if you have a process, you know exactly what you need to bring, and there's a calmness and a confidence about you. We do want to share information about you and about the company. And so having a pre-listing presentation does that. And then it also can preempt certain questions. We know we're going to get questions about commission, about what can you do for me to sell my home? How are you going to communicate with me? We already know there's certain questions that every seller or most sellers are going to ask that are kind of the same.
Hey, Jennifer, can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, as you're going through this, I'm just pulling up the stuff you're referring on the Success Center. And let me just park a notion, because I'm relatively new agent, have gone through a lot of this training. You know, we got a lot of Sotheby's, you know, glossy stuff, but I see these, like, I'm looking at this, okay, you know, this checklist, and there's some basic stuff. And you know what I'm really thirsty for is if we just had more, let me call it, for lack of a better term, down and dirty, you know, what the average top 10% of the agents are really taking, you know, because it's got like the Reside magazine, it just listed postcards, you know, these sort of things. And, you know, I'd be interested, you know, when you're preparing, what is that minimal without a blackjack deck?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would be helpful, because as I've been interviewing other of the top tier agents, like in Lakewood and so forth, you know, they start giving you their pieces out of their deck, and that would be helpful. That would seem like that would just streamline this.
So I will tell you just real quick, and I can absolutely kind of work on like almost like a one-sheeter with that. Oh, JB said she can respond. JB, she is a top agent. So let's hear from JB instead of me. Go for it.
Hi, all. I'm always looking for new tips. That's why I'm on this call. But I do the email, and the email will have a lot of links. I'm sure you'll go over that. That says, you know, we've already done the phone call as a follow-up. These are the things that I'm going to want to do. I'm going to want to walk the house. I always tell them I want each seller to give me 3 favorite things about the house so I can tell the story. Because when you tell the story, it helps give a visual to potential buyers. And I tell that story during open houses, or if it's agent to meet, blah, blah, blah. But when I go, they get a blue folder, a Sotheby's blue folder. I buy a stack of them every month. And I include some articles that I've already sent in a link that I want to make sure that they see. Or I give them, I have my own marketing one pager, and I spend extra money and put those thick things on there. I give the 10 reasons why on Sotheby's, but I don't pull it out and do the blackjack dealing. I kind of just talk about it, talk about my bio, some things about me, and I leave it for them to read if I haven't like pre-dropped off things. Sometimes it happens so quickly, it really goes phone call, email, meeting. And but they've already, because of the electronic portion, I feel like my door drops are a little bit less, because I feel like a lot more of my clients want the links. So there really is less paper, but there's certain things you do want them to have hard copy on.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that I would, I know that some agents, they either use the blue folder, which I would definitely have a stack of those prepared to go so that you're ready anytime. Even the stuff I carry around, like the printed out pre-listing questions and buyer, I like to carry it in a blue folder, because if I'm carrying it around, it looks really great, right?
Right.
I know one of the agents. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead, JB.
I do, sorry, at part 2. And people who've worked my open houses know I'm a little bit OCD, and I like to have as much information as possible. And part of my process is, I tell you, it takes extra work up front, but this is worth it at the end. And I do updates. So I do a one pager of the home's updates. I'll do information about the neighborhood. Anyone that did any of my open houses in the Cedars know I have at least 10 articles. And so if it's a high-end view, and if there's a floor plan, I've measured homes and done floor plans because of the out-of-town clients and people, but I give them, and you can buy these on Amazon, clear sleeves. And the clear sleeve will have, you'd be shocked, agents don't come with the MLS sometimes, but it'll have the MLS, it'll have the seller's disclosure, it'll have the survey, it'll have the floor plan, it'll have the updates, it'll have the list reports, has a really cool walkability form that I do for every listing, but then I put the Sotheby's logo over it. You can put it in the PDF. You can just drop your logo over it and they have no idea that it's called list reports. And I put all that together and then I separate it with another dark sheet, and then that's where my articles are. But I give them this as a sample, and I do it on the thick paper that I do at a listing, and I say, this is what sets me apart. I have higher end paper. It's the quality of the paper. It's the quality of the information. It's going to take the work, but it's going to be worth it. And they all just sit back and agree because nobody's given them a sample, and the sample is all stuff that I've done. And when the house sells, I keep it and use it as my samples.
I love that. That's such a brilliant idea because I know there are a lot of agents that not all agents put that in their home, but I have seen a lot. But I think taking it on the appointment is brilliant. And, I've seen, for example, there's an agent in my South Lake office that uses, so Sotheby's International Realty or Briggs Freeman used to really have all their listing presentations also like in this blue box. I don't know if you guys have seen that. And she just bought one and she just uses it over and over until it gets a little raggedy. And she puts all the pieces that go to her listing appointment that are hard copy in there. So she has like an example of a brochure. She has an example of maybe some just listed postcards. She would have exactly what JB was kind of talking about is what would be in the home. And some people use the home history book. JB said she just kind of has them tell her 3 favorite things, telling a story. We also have the home history book, and you may not use that where they can write in it the story. You may just want to go through it and you can take notes. So you only have to maybe have one. They're not that expensive and they do look really nice. Maybe on the high end homes, you leave that with them and let them fill it out because it's more of an experience. So those are a few things that I would recommend. If you do advertise like in Wall Street Journal or you advertise and reside, then you may want to take samples of that. But if you don't, then you may not. It's all about your talking points and what's important to you. And we're going to go through a little bit further of some things to share on that listing process. So there may be something that you can take and they can tangibly feel. I agree with JB. I think there's beauty in sometimes leaving stuff with them. Sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to leave stuff with them because what if they choose someone else and now they have all my stuff? It's a mindset of abundance. And if we go in there with confidence, knowing that we did the best job possible, then more than likely they're going to choose us. But if they don't, the thing is that most agents will actually not take the time to work on their process ahead of time. Like JB was just mentioning, it takes time up front. But most agents will not take the time to do that. So even if they have your material, they won't use it because they won't take the time to actually utilize it. And if they're not a part of our company, some of it's not even relevant. So I hope that helps, Richard. I have some ideas of some checklists and some little things. It's like, I don't want to overwhelm people with checklists, but I do like checklists because I like processes. And I do in the managing the listing class that I do, I actually share my listing checklist, which I can share it with you guys here too. We just run out of time. And then the managing the listing, like once it's under contract, I have a checklist as well. Not that it's all inclusive, every agent kind of has their own, but it's just one I put together through the years. And so I'll share that with you guys as well. But great question. And thanks JB for chiming in. So just, the digital stuff that JB was just mentioning, it's genius. So whether you do print, in a pre-listing packet you drop off in person or not, I would absolutely do the digital as well. This is stuff that we got from the Thomas Wright stuff years ago. And so this is before we meet. And he basically breaks it down into 3 sections: tour your property, allow me to introduce myself and the brokerage that I represent. And then thirdly, we're going to talk about the market and position your home for success. And so you can find this on the Marketing Center of BF Engage, or we know it sometimes as ReChat. So you're going to go to marketing, you're going to go to brand, you're going to go to brand campaigns, and it's email. And I will send you guys this presentation. So don't feel like you have to take screenshots or anything like that. But that way you'll know where to go. But included in the email are links to the videos. There's also a link to more about us. I recommend, this is homework, that you guys watch the video, read the link. If you're sending out this information, you need to know it. Some other things that you may want to include, you may want to add a video. So this is all customizable, this email. If you have a meet me video, or maybe you have something specific about the neighborhood because the listing is in your neighborhood, maybe you have some links to those that you want to share. On the Cloud CMA, which we're going to get to, there are some links of marketing information. Maybe you like 1 page or 2 pages in particular. You can insert links and either as a hyperlink or like as a button. And Laura Kraut actually teaches, she's now teaching a class on BF Engage. So if you guys need some help with that, or I'm happy to help you. And then I am with JB. I like for the sellers to do homework. I always say that we're partnering together to sell your home. And so I think when you ask them to do a little bit of homework, and you can even insert this in the before we meet, or you can say, so this is one way, is please reply to this email sharing your home's best features, improvements, and selling points, or tell me about your 3 favorite things, as JB said, or also if you would reach out to your lender and get your current loan balance on your home, and just have that information when we get together. And that way we can calculate your net sheet from your home sell after we assess your home pricing strategy. So I think it's important. What I like about the reply to the email is, one, they got it, although we do have insights on BF Engage. So I would encourage you to check, that's why it's good sending it out through BF Engage and then check the insight. But replying also gives them buy-in. So I think it's nice because they're already a little bit committed to you because they've already answered you, if that makes sense. And then there's some other pre-listing email type stuff that is in there. This is one, why list with me. So again, it's in the same spot that as the other one. So maybe you have a seller that you don't have an appointment with yet, but you're trying to kind of get that appointment with them. This might be an email that you could send as well. But again, the whole point is credibility. And in that listing resources tab on BF Office, there's a lot of examples that Thomas Wright gave. It's in the Thomas Wright collateral folder that he gave of some print examples. But it is really about credibility. It's about giving that seller confidence to hire you, educating them and demonstrating your superior customer service and marketing. And so you want to make sure in your pre-listing information is show who you are and why you are in this business. I think the more we share the why of what we're doing, then they can see our sincerity and see that we genuinely want to help them. And we're not just about the money. That's what, if you think about what the public perception is, a lot of times they just think, agents just make all this money, right? And they don't have to do a whole lot for it. Well, we know that we're working our tails off, right? And so we want to articulate our value. And if we don't articulate it, they don't know. But they also, one of the biggest questions they're going to ask is, what are you going to do to market my property? And I will tell you, in this market right now, I know sellers are like, my home's going to sell fast. Maybe I don't need all the marketing, right? So that's where the whole discount comes in. They're like, I don't need to do all this. Yes, you do. And you need to then, in this market, we need to be articulating why marketing their home to perfection is still super important. And the reason why it's important, I'll just kind of go into it, is is because they still want the highest price for their home. And beautiful marketing is going to drive traffic to their home. And the more traffic we drive to their home, then the better opportunity we're going to have to get the seller the price they want, or maybe even blow their expectations away. And everybody's proud of their home, you know, and so they want it presented in the best light. So we need to be able to speak to that right now of why sellers need beautiful marketing. So these are just some examples of things that you can include in your pre-listing packet. And like JB said, what she's done is more use the digital and the pre-listing side. And this is some stuff she can come and leave with the clients. I think having your own marketing plan is really important. I think it takes time to put that together of using the stuff the company does and then using marketing. And again, if we don't articulate what we're doing, they don't know. Testimonials, obviously, information on the market. I love that JB focuses on the neighborhood side of it because it's local. People want someone local that really understands. I think it's important to show examples of your marketing. Obviously, your bio and about you. You know, you might want to bring any documents they may need to sign. Some clients are more analytical than others, so they may want to know up front what they're going to look at. And then maybe you have common questions. Maybe you have like a one-sheeter that kind of has answers to that. These are just examples. You don't need to have them all. One of the tools that we do have, a resource, is in My Marketing Matters. And this, you can get to My Marketing Matters through BF Engage, and you just go under deals. And if you don't have a deal already you can go into any deal, buyer side, seller side, just go into deals. If you don't have one, you can create a dummy one and go to the marketing tab in there. There's a reason why it's there. I won't go into it right now. If you have any problems finding it, just let me know or reach out to your marketing liaison, Catherine or Sherry. But I think this is a really beautiful piece. This is something that I actually customized for myself when I was selling a lot. But I think it's just a great piece you could drop off or kind of have available, and you can put it in a blue sleeve. But it basically has your bio. It has a sample marketing plan. You can put your properties, like the photos on there that you've sold. You can put the testimonials in the middle section of that gray section, or testimonials, and then common questions. So this is a piece that they kind of already have a great template, and you can customize to make it your own. And it looks like it's your piece. And I think the more time we spend in creating these materials up front, the better it's going to be. And you look like a top professional, and that's what we want, right? So I think it sets you apart. With that, I'm just going to insert this right here. You can order a hard copy of the listing presentation if you do like print. And you guys, like I said, I mix digital and print all the time. I talk about Cloud CMA all the time, and I love the live version. I bought a iPad that has cellular data that I can go into appointments, because I like digital, because I like to be able to expand the photos, and I like for them to be able to do that. I like, if I wanted to play a video, I could play it on there. I like the prettiness of it, but I also like having print available in case I have people that prefer print. But for me personally, I didn't order like 50 of these. I just used a couple, and I would just have it with me in case I felt like I needed to pull it out and use it. But you can also go in and customize a listing presentation to yourself. And so I don't always feel like I need to leave this with someone, but you certainly could, because I leave the digital side. So again, figure out your process. And then these are just some other pieces, like the 10 reasons why I think is really important. There are some, staging, boost your curb appeal, and then there's some other advertising opportunities depending on your listing. Catherine, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I was just going to say that ReChat BF Engage has now developed an iPad app. So that'll make it a little bit easier.
So glad.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to play in it yet, but they told me about it last week, and they said that, and then they sent an email this week. So, like I said, I'll start playing with it and see. But that can really help when you're on a listing presentation. You want to have your iPad, and you want to be able to show them something, email blasts you send out, or any of that kind of stuff. So anyway, for what it's worth, it's here.
Yay! I'm so thankful for that. I've been asking for that for a while too. I think that, again, spending the money up front and having these materials is so important. And I think even that pre-listing, it's just like it's like 4 pages, you know, and it's in like a little booklet. But it is, it wasn't that expensive. So I think I spent less than $100 and I got like, I don't know, 25, 50, I don't remember. It's been a few years. So here are just some action steps for this point. Find that Before We Meet template if you're not already using it. Maybe customize the text, make it sound like you. You know, read through it, click on the links, decide on what your pre-listing packet looks like. Do you want to customize that pre-listing brochure? Work with Catherine and Sherry on doing that if you need any help. But My Marketing Matters is, I mean, their customer service is really great and they'll help you as well. But spend time on figuring out what you're going to take to the appointment and what that looks like now. So, and then just decide on that process, stick with it. You know, that process will give you confidence. Any questions on that part? Okay, so I'm going to keep moving because we got a lot of stuff. So y'all just chime in if you do. So what do we do at the listing appointment? Obviously, we already set it up with that digital email of what you're going to do. Thomas Wright says do 20, 20, 20, like 20 minutes at each section. I'm a little wordier, surprise, surprise. So I usually need a little bit longer because I like to spend time building rapport and I don't like to rush that. And then, you know, if we get into a conversation, sometimes it takes a little longer, but, you know, find out what your process is and also know your client, know what they need. So just some really, you know, key basic points. Take off your shoes unless it's just a super filthy house or obviously construction, you know, stuff everywhere. You don't want to do that. Sometimes people just ask, but a lot of times people say, oh no, don't worry about it. But it's a cultural thing, but it's also just like oh, that was really nice. So that's a way even just to differentiate yourself. As you're walking through the property, you're touring it with them. Your goals are to continue to carry on that pre-listing conversation that you had with them over the phone, to carry that in person. So you can bring up, you know, points that you talked about in that pre-listing consultation over the phone. You're discussing it more or saying, oh, okay, so the reason that you're moving. So you're talking about the house and room to room, but you're still building rapport, you know, and getting to know them and relating to them, right? We're also qualifying the seller. So we want to know if they're motivated. Are they prepared to sell? Because we don't want sellers that aren't prepared fully to sell. They need to be all in. And we need to be picking up on those red flags because we don't want a bunch of listings where the sellers are going to be our biggest obstacles, right? So we want to qualify the home. We also want to qualify the condition of the home. What are the amenities, the features, the inclusions, exclusions? And as you're touring the home, think about starting to write that story. We call it property romance, but you're writing a lifestyle. So a lot of times the biggest thing when agents are trying to list a home and they're trying to get it live on MLS, the property romance sometimes is the hardest part to get written. It's usually the last thing they're putting together, not everyone, but most of the people. So start to do that as you're going through the home because they're telling the story. So utilize their story. And then at the table, it's a conversation. I really love the idea of bringing a blank calendar with you and having where I always bring like a pencil and a blank calendar, maybe like 2 months worth or something. If I've already done the pre-listing consultation, so I kind of already know what they're thinking, but I like to write it down and show them a timeline because sometimes sellers are like, I need it on like tomorrow. Sometimes they're like, we're 2 months down the road from putting it on. So what I like to know and help them see is when do they really want to be, when do they want to be out of that house? When do they want to move? And then you can back it up and help them figure out when do we need to launch the property, and do we want to do a coming soon, or do we want to do an off-market exclusive with the home, with our office, or what does that look like? So I feel like that's a way to get buy-in from the clients when you're actually putting dates on the calendar with the client. right? Y'all are having a conversation like, oh, tell me, okay, so you mentioned you want to be out of the house by May 30th. Okay, it's going to take this long, days on the market. This is what we're ranging. So you're showing your expertise as well, but you're locking the clients in on a calendar. The other thing is, and we're going to talk a little bit about this, are sharing 2 to 3 passion points of what makes you and your brokerage different. So I'm going to share some of my things that I would recommend. Make them your own. You don't have to use mine, but I think a lot of times we don't take the time to learn what they are. And so we just skip that part, but that's what makes us, it's like the brand along with you. That's what makes you super special, because you have that backing. I mean, you're special on your own. You are special, but having the brand backing makes you extra special, I think. So, we want to utilize that. And then obviously reviewing the market data. And I love Cloud CMA Live. So what I'm going to do is just show, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to not show this video really quick, but I'm just going to tell you briefly what it is. What he talks about in this section is just about touring the home and then doing the ABC list. So, the thing is if you've sent that digital email about what that appointment looks like, you don't have as much of the awkwardness when you get to the appointment of like, do you want to sit at the kitchen table? Do you want to walk around? Like, what do you want to do? You've already said, I want to tour the property first. So, that way, when you introduce yourself, you take off your shoes. So glad to meet you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or, whoever it is, maybe it's only one person. And so, are you the one, who's going to take me on the tour of the home? Because then you can also see the dominant personality, right? And so you're going to tour the home, and then, as you're going through the home, you're building that rapport. You're also creating what Thomas Wright calls an ABC list. And so what he talks about are that the A's are things they must do to sell their home, to get their home ready. The B's are these are things that they probably should do to get their home, but not like absolutely required. And the C's are like, blow my socks off. This would be out of the moon, amazing if you did do before we sell our home. And one of the emails that we send after the listing appointment is our ABC list. And so as you're touring the home with them and you're writing notes, and what we always recommend is writing it on a piece of paper, or like I have an iPad with a pencil, and letting them know, I'm going to take some notes as we go along, if that's okay. And you may want to, like, I have a record button. You may want to record as you go. Whatever your process is, we encourage you not to use your phone because it just looks like you're distracted, right? So just let them know, I'm going to take notes about the home, but you're also starting to prepare that ABC list as you go. And then, so you set up the appointment of, once we leave here, I'm going to send you my ABC list so you know what are the things you need to do to get your home ready for the market. Any questions on that?
What was C again?
C is like, I would be over the moon if you took care of these items, but not necessary, Any other questions on that part? Again, all of Thomas Wright's stuff is amazing. He's a brilliant speaker. So highly encourage you guys to go watch the whole thing. Even if you've seen it before, I always pick up, nuggets or inspired just by things he says. But just for the sake of time, I'm just going to skip this one. But I am going to show him in just a minute. We're going to watch a few minute video of him talking about handling the appointment, because he says it better than me. Oops, sorry. Okay, here we go.
There's no audio.
Yeah, I don't hear anything either.
Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all don't have any audio?
Correct.
Sorry about that. Well, that's not going to help you if you don't have audio. I could hear it.
That was good.
It sounded good to me. I was like taking a break over here. Okay, let's see. If not, I'll just tell you what he says, but y'all can still see my screen though, right?
Yep.
Can you hear it now? No?
No.
All right, no worries. Okay, so he talks about, we're going to go in and talk about pricing of the home, and we're going to talk about he talks about the 10 reasons why. Okay, so I'm going to jump into that part really quick. Let's just go on to the next one. So y'all can see my 10 reasons why, right? So one of the things he talks about is that that when you're in the appointment, a lot of times what agents shortchange is the middle part of that step number 2, which is talking about yourself and talking about the brokerage. And I think a lot of times it's because we don't really know what to say about the brokerage, so we skip that part. Hopefully we know what to say about ourselves, but I think even in that, sometimes we can, I feel like it's two extremes. Either we shortchange ourselves and we don't show the proof of why we are in a good, why we're the best agent for them. So maybe sharing, success we've had in that neighborhood, maybe sharing, I think part of it is sharing, I have a marketing plan and I have this process. Maybe it's sharing, some proof. I don't like to talk about myself a whole lot, but one of the big focuses is also on the brand. And so I'm going to share with you 3 passion points that I like to talk about. You can totally steal these and borrow these. I mean, they're not mine, they're ours. But these are just 3 that I picked out. But I do like this 10 reasons why, and it's something you can show to them and just mention here's some things, but you have to practice this. If you don't practice this, then it can sound not authentic, right? And how you share it. And also it may sound really like salesy or robotic. And so this is something you need a partner to practice. Okay. And these are some things that even as I was at this conference yesterday, and we were talking about these things, it just gets me excited to talk about it. So 3 passion points that I love to talk about is the brand heritage. And so we really have, our brand has an unmatched reputation with a local brand. So we're married to like a 275-year heritage, which was started in 1744. So what that means for you is we have stability. We have stability. We know we are trusted and true and know what we're doing. We hear a lot of stories of clients that love having a blue sign in the yard because we love luxury. And no matter, and even if someone's not at a high price point, we can still say everyone deserves a luxury experience, right? And everybody deserves for their house to look the most presented in the most beautiful way. And we want to attract the right buyers for your property. And so we do that. We have a trusted and true process. With our network, we have 1,000 offices, over 25,000 associates all over the world in 79 different countries. And what that means for you is that your property is going out to all of these offices, and it's actually being broadcast on Apple TV, which is amazing. It also allows us to collaborate with all of these brokers all over the world. And we have a huge level of people, an influx of people moving in from out of state, moving in from other countries. And we have a lot of great reports that we can actually pull up in the listing process. If your home doesn't sell in the first couple of days, there's reports that can show where the buyers are actually looking at your home. So we may have a big population from California and we can target our marketing there specifically. So because we're a part of this brand and network, we have these resources that we're able to pull to look at where these buyers are coming from. And we also, all the agents, we're able to refer you anywhere. So I would bring that up if you know that they're moving somewhere or what they're doing. But you know, you can just say, we love being able to have the same level of professionalism and refer them out to people that that we know will take care of our clients. So that's really important. And then also just brand marketing, I think is obviously is important to the sellers, right? So we need to be sharing that. But we want to put our properties in front of the most real estate customers than anyone else, right? We want their property everywhere. And so all of the money, and this is good for you to know too, the money that you invest, you know, I know a lot of times they're like, what's my 6% going for? I get so excited when I hear about all the things that Sotheby's International Realty is doing, because it is an investment, and all the money you invest with Sotheby's International Realty goes right back into the property marketing, which is driving consumers back to you. So obviously you're not saying that in the listing appointment, but it's good for you to know. What you say in the listing appointment is that Sotheby's International Realty has so much press out there. And we have, you know, the share of voice stuff you can show if you want to, the charts, and all of it benefits your property, because the more we drive traffic to your property, then the more buyers we're going to have. And we want to elevate sorry, I can't speak. Elevate the perception of your listing, right? Because that's what is going to attract the best buyers and the best possible price. So I wanted to include this slide for you of stats to know. You're not going to go through an appointment and say every one of these stats, but these are stats that I think that you should know, because depending on what is important to your client, you need to be able to just kind of say, if y'all are talking about video, did you know that, you know, our YouTube channel for Sotheby's International Realty is the #1 real estate YouTube channel, and it far surpasses Zillow. And there's a chart that you can show, and all of the stuff is available to you, these charts. I think talking about the website is very important, where we can say, you know, that we had more than 46 million visitors on the website in 2021. And it was actually, you know, voted, you know, best real estate site for People's Choice, which means consumers are on there. And what that means for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that we're trying to run ads, and we're trying to, you know, have all of this press to drive traffic to your property. And then on the website, it looks amazing because they focus on lifestyle. So, and this is why, if you guys are able to do video and Matterport, you know, how obviously we have the beautiful property photos to present their homes in the best light. The Sotheby's Realty, what they focus on is trying to make it look almost like a magazine. So what's happening, just so you know, is they have consumers spending more time on the website and staying on there looking at properties. And what their goal is to drive more traffic to you as the agent. And they were sharing all about this at this conference I was at. And I was like, this is so great. But these are just some stats I feel like you guys should know to be able to roll off your tongue. You know, and you know, even the editorial placement, I feel like a lot of agents are like, well, I'm not spending the money doing it, but Sotheby's International Realty is, and they're doing it on your behalf. And again, it's driving more traffic to you, and it's branding you in a positive way. The other thing is you need to know your local stats of what makes us better than the competition. So we have on some Monday morning meetings, I know I've done it in some of my office meetings, shared some local stats. For example, in Southlake, in Colleyville, in Frisco, and in Collin County, we have the highest average sales price, far exceeding the competition. I don't remember, I'm sorry, what they are in all of the other offices. And if you don't remember, check in with your VPSLs or your marketing liaison, and they can kind of help you have a little bit of a talk track. But what that means for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is that because we have this beautiful, excellent marketing, you know, we want to present your home in the best light so that you can get that highest price. So you just have to figure out what your talk track is. And I just thought these were really helpful. Again, we're not like hounding them with stat. It's more of a conversational where So going back to the pre-listing consultation, if we're having the conversation on the phone, we know already because we've asked the question of what's most important to them, then we're able to say, I know you mentioned communication was something that you struggled with the last agent that you had. So then you can bring in communication in the listing appointment. Maybe they had some questions about, marketing or, you have to find the pain points of what's important to them so you know what to focus on. Any questions on any of that? I know I'm like running through it, but there's just so much good information. Any questions or any other thoughts, things you guys might want to throw in?
No, this is great.
Okay, awesome.
Hey,
So
I'm sorry, this is Wayne, just one comment, and this would
Yeah.
really, this discussion, if you're meeting with the client the first time, would probably be the result of, dependent on what your relationship with your mentor is in the office, if you're a new member of the team. When you're meeting with a potential client, you can always say you have an incredible support staff, as well as a great partner or mentor that's going to work with you on this process. So you're basically getting two people or two agents for the price of one to really focus on your property. And it really does help you position yourself to overcome you're new to the industry, you're new to the business. At least that's my perspective.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. I think, and that's the thing is you need to find what you love and what's important to you. You have a whole marketing team behind you. They have no idea what that looks like, but you actually really do. You could talk about maybe social media is really important to them. And you could talk about how we run, a Facebook and Instagram ad, for them and so you guys know we do that the first week it's on the property, and then you can extend it beyond that if you want. So you need to find, if you're having the conversations and asking the seller the right questions, you're going to know what things you can insert. And every appointment I go on, I cater the conversation to them, right? So I know what's important to them. It's not about me. It's about what I think will resonate with them. And there may be a couple things that they didn't ask me or they didn't mention, but here's the thing. They might not know to ask the question. And if we're not articulating our value, they do not know. Okay. And so just keep that in mind. So you might just remember it. And again, if you're passionate about it, like I love talking about this stuff and I'm so passionate about it, I think that they see it, right? And then it's contagious, So Jenna Hyde said, follow the process. It works. Over time, you can make the process tailored to you and your personality. And that is exactly right. And so if you're not going on a bunch of listing appointments, seriously, grab a buddy, message someone that's on here, grab a mentor, grab someone that's in your office, grab a friend. They don't even have to be in real estate, and just say, let me practice this on you. If you don't mind, I really want to hone my skills. And ask someone that's not even in real estate, because sometimes we speak too much language, realtor speak, right? So we need to make sure that we're communicating in a way that will resonate with people that aren't in real estate and, breathing real estate every day, right? So the other thing I want to mention to you is Cloud CMA. So I have a whole class on this, so I'm not going to get into the weeds on this, but when you are running your comps, which we do on the MLS, there's a way to hit Cloud CMA, transfer all your properties over here to Cloud CMA. This is the live version. So there's a print version and this is the live version. I'm with JB. I don't like a ton of papers. I print out, if you guys have heard my class before, I print out like 2 papers of the printout one, which is the one with the maps and the properties listed. And then the other one is just kind of a list of the properties, and it almost looks like a quick CMA, but it's way prettier. So I print those out and take them with me because I like for them to have something in front of them. But then I have my iPad, and what I do is I use this live CMA. I click on the comps tab. My favorite one, which you can't see right here, is it's a graph. It's average price per square foot. I like the days to sell one. But the other thing that is on here are all of these tiles. Now you can go in and customize this. You can go hide and, you know, put in the ones that you want. But this is homework for you guys, is to go through all of these tiles and see what it says. Watch the videos and see. We have got to be a student of our marketing materials and of our brand so that we can then turn around and articulate what's most important. I do not go through tile by tile. You will be there forever if you do it. But some of my favorite tiles I'll just share with you are the Why Sell With Us tab. It has a lot of things on there. So it's not just a quick little topic, but it kind of has several highlights on there. It's almost like the full story one, but the full story is literally the whole listing presentation digitally. But the Why Sell With Us, I feel like, is very succinct, and I really like that one. And then also I like the Your Property's Journey. And I like the Clear Communication in You. I like that one because it shows a picture of the seller's report. So again, you need, and I like the Sotheby's Realty one because it has like the stats on there. So when you're sharing some of the stats that I was sharing, again, whatever, 2 or 3, you know, you don't need to go into all of them. Pull up the page and show them a visual while you're saying it, right? So they're not just sitting there listening to you, okay? This is a chart that is in, I think it's in the Property Journey one. This is a chart that I feel like is a must to use. And basically what it talks about is exclusive partnerships that we have that gives our properties superior exposure. So some brokerages may syndicate to some of these, but no one is syndicating to all of these. These are exclusive partnerships that Sotheby's International Realty has. Again, this is your investment that you're making, kind of with that franchise fee. This is what it's going to. It's going to drive traffic to your properties, and it's driving traffic ultimately to you. And it's obviously allowing you the opportunity to advertise. Actually, one of the guys yesterday, he said this, and I thought this was, wow. I was like, wow, that's crazy. If you as a listing agent were going to take one of your listings, and you were going to advertise on all of these sites, it would cost you over $6,500 per listing to have this kind of marketing. So obviously, we would go broke if we were, you know, it wouldn't make sense for us to all do that. That's a benefit that we have as being a part of this brand. And I want to go back a slide because I had a couple of notes down at the bottom that I wanted to share. And I'm just going to read this quickly to you as well. One of the things in the Why Sell With Us, there's a little section in there. This is all written in there, but it talks about doing more is our distinction. And it talks about leveraging our brand's heritage and sophistication, connecting with affluent customers who share our vision. We go above and beyond to meet clients' needs. We offer the only true worldwide luxury real estate network. We partner with leading media to obtain the best exposure. We provide unparalleled reach to qualified buyers and sellers. We showcase every listing with the highest quality presentation, and we utilize the latest technology for even greater impact, and we deliver a singular client experience. So I like that little section that's in the Why Sell With Us. Now, I'm not saying you would read every single one of those to your clients, but I do think that you need to know those things, and you may just point out 1 or 2 things. So again, it's about making this presentation yours. So you guys know Sotheby's International Realty has its own listing presentation. You might want to check this out. Again, this is in the listing resources tab called the Distinction. So if you want to use the one that's, maybe you have some clients that are really familiar with Sotheby's International Realty and not as familiar with Briggs Freeman, you could also use this as a resource. I think again, I'm not saying use this, but I think this is a tool that you should at least be familiar with because it talks about the brand and it talks about some of those points that we were sharing. So again, it's just you being a student of the brand. I'm not saying you would necessarily use this on an appointment, but you could. So any questions so far? I know I'm like running through this, but I have a little bit more left. Y'all are hanging in with me? Okay. So I want to talk about marketing and positioning your home and the conversation that you have. So as you're talking about you're talking about your company, you toured the home first, right? Talking about you and your company, and now we're sitting down and having the conversation. We like to say at the dining room table, not the kitchen table, but about marketing and positioning your home. So otherwise known as the pricing conversation, right? Thomas Wright teaches a two-step method where, some people might be one-steppers where they have the comps, they talk about the price right there on the first appointment. Thomas Wright loves the two-stepper. I do too. It depends on the home for me. I feel like some homes are easier to price, homes that are more difficult to price. It's definitely a two-step method where you go in, you tour the home, go ahead and talk about you and your company. You can talk about marketing and positioning your home, but then you're going to go back and do the homework on the pricing part and then say, let me get back to you. Now that I've seen your home, let's meet again. And that might even be at your office, or it might be back at their home, and go over the pricing conversation. So you have to figure out what's right for that home and for that seller. But a dialogue, and this is actually kind of a ninja thing that you could potentially use, is to say, before we go on, are there any questions you have about listing your home for sale? And then keep asking them, because you want to know what it is. Now they're going to say, well, you haven't told me the price of my home yet. Great. Yes, we're going to get to that. Is there anything else you want to make sure we cover today? Keep asking the questions. You're not answering at the moment because you're just writing it down. Yes, we're gonna definitely cover that. Write it down and address later. What happens if we do ask those questions is then we start trying to answer the objection right then, and it takes us off our process. But that way too, you're also asking them, is there anything else? Is there anything else that's really important to you or that you have questions on? I want to make sure we cover that today, because you don't want to, I hear this a lot from agents, that they'll leave an appointment, they don't get the listing, and they go back and they ask why. And then they find out it was something that we didn't talk about. They didn't ask us, they didn't bring up. And we're like, we could have addressed that, And so they're like, hey, this other agent said they do this. And it's like, we do it too, but I didn't know that was important to them. And so if you ask these questions, hey, is there anything else? Is there anything else? And obviously at the end, you can ask, is there anything else, that we didn't discuss today? But again, you drive the process. The sellers make the decisions. Okay. So we need to remember that. And so, you can even say, I like how this tees it up, where it's like, today, one of three things can happen here. After we've answered your questions, you may decide to hire me, or you also may decide I'm not the right fit for you and may choose not to hire me. But also the third thing is, if I feel like I can't achieve the objectives that we talk about, then I have that responsibility to tell you and not take your listing. And so I think what that sets up, and what I like, is that we're not desperate for that listing. Even if we are, we don't want to appear desperate. And I think that it shows selectivity, which I think shows, oh, what do you mean they might not want to work with me? Because doesn't every seller just assume that we want them and want their business? Do we want every seller? No, we do not. So I think it actually sets us up in a really good way. So I like that dialogue. Just wanted to share that with you. These are some other questions, and I'm going to share all this with you. But these are some questions. You need to be practicing these dialogues. I love the question, are you willing to sell your home at fair market value? And they say, oh, what is fair market value? Well, fair market value is determined by what sellers are willing to pay given their choices, and what sellers are willing to sell for given their choices and their competition. And I like to have this conversation when I'm looking at the average price per square foot graph on the Cloud CMA, because there's a trend line. And I can show that to you really quick if you guys want. Let me flip my screen. Can y'all see my Google screen, or my, oh, there's the property. Yeah, that's on the property journey.
Yeah.
All right, let me go back real quick. So I love this chart right here. That's the average price per square foot. And I like to ask that question right here. Are you willing to sell your home for fair market value? You can talk about this trend line. Now, not every graph comes out this pretty based on this comps. This is one I just ran recently for some past clients that had asked me about their home. value. And so what it does down here is it goes up price per square foot, and up on the right-hand side, it goes up in value. And so basically this little purple is their home based on the square footage. And this is kind of where this computer, now in this market, we, and Thomas Wright always teaches, we give a range of 10% value. So that's kind of where this gray trend line is. Now, it's not to say we can't go above that. But what we know, sellers are a little greedy, right? Of course, they want the most amount of money, of course. But sometimes using a chart like this will actually help them go, oh, I think I'm thinking a little bit too high. So I like visuals. I think it's, I can go through the comps one by one, like through here, and we can look at the photos, we can go into each one and look at the photos and, go through it. But what I like about but that chart is it clearly shows where these homes are priced, and you can click on each one and go through photos here. If they're like, this one's on the market. So anyways, I'm not going to get in the weeds because I teach a whole class on that, but I like the visual. And so if you talk about fair market value, then that's a conversation you can have with that visual. And then, based on the current market value conditions, where do you think you should price your home in order to get to Minnesota on time, or Arizona on time, or maybe it's another neighborhood on time? So use their motivation of their why they're moving. We need to remember their why they're moving the whole time through the process, because when things get hard, we have to remind them why we're going through the pain of moving, because moving is painful. Have you guys moved recently? Has anybody moved recently? It's not the most fun process. You got to pack everything. You got to have your homes ready for showings. It can be a little painful. So we have to continue to remember them of the motivation. Do you think you're going to get there on time? If not, what's your plan B? If we don't find a house for your buyer in the next 72 hours, are you going to be okay with that? I think, sellers start to freak out. So these are good questions. Also, they freak out if the first buyer comes in and puts a contract on the home. Maybe we priced it too low, right? So these are just some good questions to be able to ask. Again, you don't need to ask every one of them. Just have a few in your dialogue. And then again, these are just some other questions. If you could wave a magic wand and have the sale go just the way you want it, what does that look like? What does your time frame look like? Do you need a lease back? What does showings look like for you? Go ahead and create that dialogue of like, we're already listing the home. You're assuming the sell, right? So if this sell could go exactly the way you want it, what's your dream? Again, review that motivation, use the physical calendar. I talked about that. And this is just the benefits of it. It engages them, kind of puts the action steps to it, addresses the what ifs. And then when you leave the appointment, this is something Thomas Wright teaches, is that after he leaves the appointment, he does a few things, 3 things. One is he sends a DocuSign with the listing agreement in that. So he says, right after I leave, my assistant's going to DocuSign a draft of the listing document contract to you so you can review it. Yes, they can sign it, he says, but he's like, I'm not a hard salesperson. I'm not either. But he said they don't have to sign it. They can just review it, because people need to read what they're signing. And you can just have TBD in the price blank, and then you can send an amendment later listing the price, amendment to the listing. That, because your office coordinators will need that to input the listing. Or they may just want to read it. You may bring a hard copy. So again, it's your process. Also, in the appointment, if you use Thomas Wright's process, he talks about putting that ABC list together. So you can say, as you know, I have a list, of your ABC list. So I'm going to be sending that to you after. It does a couple of things. It kind of hooks them. So they're not going to just decide on working with another agent until they get your ABC list. They want to know what that is. They're not going to just make a quick decision. Now, some people are like, some realtors have said, well, I don't want to share my ABC list because they may list with another agent. Again, that's a mindset of abundance. So, you figure out what works for you. But if you're having all these right conversations and it's going the way you feel like it should be, then you're going to probably feel fairly confident. And look, if they used the ABC list and they used another realtor, then you helped someone. And I think we just, at the end of the day, we live out of abundance and gratitude, and we're okay with that because we got to help someone. So the third thing he sends is he sends a pricing email, and these are in BF Engage. This is right here. Now that we've met, here's the ABC list. And now that we met, your home's value. And what Thomas Wright recommends is really kind of telling a story of the comps and why we price the home that you want the way you need to. Now, for homes that are easier to price, you may not feel like you need this email. But I know we work with a lot of homes that are unique, or maybe they're high end, maybe they're on a street where nothing else, there's tear downs, and especially in Dallas, I feel like there's a lot of unique homes, or maybe out in the country where there's not any comps. So you telling a story with your home's value and really proving why you feel like this is the range. Again, we don't like to give one set price. Your home is worth $1 million. We would say a 10% range, and that way they're the one choosing the price. Any questions on that? Because I know, they're going to look to us and say, well, what do you think we should price it at? And it's like, well, we just reviewed the comps. Here's the fair market value, kind of showing the trend line. And here's kind of that range. Based on the condition of your home, where do you see pricing your home compared to some of these others? So you see how you can turn it around and ask a question. Well, what do you really think? Well, how do you feel like your home compares to these comps? So you can ask a question, because the thing is you want them to be the main one making the decision. And you have to be okay with that price. If they give you a ridiculous price and you're like, well, that doesn't really work with these other comps. You have to have the conversation around it, because if you're not bought into the price that they're selecting, then you're not going to properly market the property, more than likely. But if you go with that price and you take the listing, even though it's not the price you think they should be at, then you have to be all in and market it. So anyways, I just highly recommend that you figure out your pricing conversations around that. A common question we get is, should we do this listing process with family, friends, past clients? The answer is yes, absolutely, because they trust you already, or they like you already, but you want them to trust you, and you want them to know that you do an excellent job, and you want them to refer you. So if they know that you have a process and that you're doing all these things, I don't know if JB, if you're still on here, I'd love to, do you do this with friends and family and past clients still, like a process?
What do you mean, like the process?
Like, do you still kind of go through steps of how you're going to market their property, or do you kind of skip a lot of that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think if we skip the steps because they're like, oh, they know me, or they're a family member, you may not go as crazy in depth, but you, again, have to articulate your value to them. Because if someone was to refer you and they're like, oh, you should use JB because we've known each other for years, and I really like her, she's great. Or if she's like, I love JB, I've known her for years, but she does an amazing job because she's shown that process, there's just a more powerful referral that happens. And I think it's good for your people to be your biggest cheerleaders and to be your biggest referrals or referring people. So they need to know that you do an amazing job. You're not just likable and trustworthy, right? But that you do an amazing job. And every year your sphere is diminishing by 10 to 15%, which is why we have to be growing it and then working that referral process. So a couple of other things, and I'm going to send you these resources because Ninja really teaches, and there's a sheet in the handout I'm going to give you that says it's articulating your value. And what they talk about is, money flows to value, right? So if we're mastering that law of value, it's really the key to success in your business. So this question I feel like is genius, because when they start talking about, will you cut your commission? I love this question. Do you believe your home, let me ask you this. Do you believe your home will sell for a fixed price or a range of value based on the marketing, negotiation, and presentation skills of your realtor? Oh, well, probably a range of value. And then it creates this dialogue. So there's a little sample dialogue on this Ninja sheet that I'm going to send to you. And then, you know, what they have on the Ninja sheet is, let me tell you about 5 ways. Let me see if it's my next slide. Yeah, there's 5 ways that my job is to get you the most value at the top of the range. And there's 5 ways that I do this. You know, we just walked through your property together. And I'm going to give you that ABC list. So we talk about how to enhance the value and so that you get the most amount of money for it. We're going to work through that pricing strategy and making sure not pricing it too high. So you know, we're not scaring buyers away. Even in this crazy market, if you price it too high, I have seen buyers pass on by. And we have seen some price reductions. So pricing it, even though people are paying way above list price, if you start too high, they'll skip it. Okay, so you can have that conversation with your sellers. The third thing is my marketing plan. You know, I've worked really hard on drilling in the right marketing plan, and that's why I'm with this amazing brand, so that we can give you a maximum exposure and attract more buyers and more contracts and really get you the highest price. That's why you have the highest average sales price, you know, in this market. And so the more buyers and contracts you have, then the higher your property will sell. Also, negotiating is so important. And I know a lot of agents will say, if I can't negotiate my commission, you know, how am I going to do on negotiating your home? So again, you have to make it authentic to you. And I'm not saying you have to go through these step by step, but it might be something that rolls off your tongue if you have someone really fighting you on commission. Something else that I say on the marketing side is I'll say, oh, is there any part of the marketing that you want me to not do? You know, do you want me to not have video or not do a Matterport? Because all of that is money I'm investing into your property. And so if we're talking about cutting that commission, I can cut something out of the marketing. And I'll tell you, that's worked. And the other thing is sometimes, you know, right now transactions are tough. They're intense. I feel like, you know, having someone that's going to manage your process all the way to closing, getting it under contract is one thing. We're seeing a lot of fallout. We're seeing a lot of tough negotiations on contracts and liability stuff. You don't have to say all of that, but these are things you need to know that, hey, I'm your personal transaction manager. I'm your personal concierge all the way to closing and then even beyond. And I'm going to handle all of this to have the smoothest, best closing. You had mentioned to me that was really important to you, that we would have kind of a seamless closing. So again, if you're asking the questions at the very beginning, you already know what's important to them, and you can kind of weave that into your conversation. And so you can say, my fee to deliver this level of value to you is blank. So the other thing I will say, and you know, I'm not going to really talk about commissions on here, but sometimes we're very quick to drop things a full percent. If you feel like you need to maybe negotiate or drop some to, you know, adjust, go down 0.5%. Don't feel like you got to give the whole thing away, you know? So that's really worked for me sometimes, and it's worked for some of my agents. Is to say, you know what, I'll still do all of this marketing, and I'll go down 0.5%. So I'm giving a little, but I'm not giving everything. So
Let me
just
make a comment on that.
Yeah.
Don't do it on the spot. Don't concede then, because they'll ask for more. But what I do
Absolutely.
explain is that all the architectural high quality photos, and I'm saying, you can see, you've seen the difference on Zillow, and they're like, they shake their head. Yes. The high quality photos, doing the floor plan, the boost video, the boost, I call it the creepy
Ads.
marketing, all these things. I talk about all the things that they get that I pay for. So I'm not really getting paid that 3%. And if they still push back and I talk about my value, I rarely have pushback. But if they do, I'll say, I'll have to ask my manager, because of all the things that I do for you. You know, I'll have to have that discussion, but I do also say, you know, is there something you'd like me not to do? I don't have to do this, but I explain expenses. And I think it's important that you don't concede on the spot, because sometimes they think about it, or they're interviewing somebody else, and then they're like, yeah, she's going to do more. But I do also talk about how I go to the end, and I have a perfect example with my condo sale. It just closed because somebody else, literally their deal fell apart. And I guarantee you, because the agents didn't keep fighting.
Yep, absolutely. because if they're not getting paid for it, they don't have the motivation as much, and I mean, I totally agree. Fall back on your manager. Like sometimes they're, I've had agents be like, I have to get manager approval, but use us, use us to be like, oh, well, it's not something that we typically do. So I would really have to talk. But the thing is people are trained to ask the question. I mean, I was in a listing presentation the other day, consultation with another agent in my office, and they were like, we have to ask, and sometimes I've heard, I know you're with Sotheby's International Realty, so y'all probably don't do this, but would you consider? And it's like, well, I understand, and I understand why, you need to ask, and go back to articulating your value, like JB was just saying. So again, you have to have confidence in that. And here's the thing, guys, people will pay to have luxury. They will pay to have luxury service. They will pay for things that are important to them. But if it's not important, they will not pay. And so, sometimes based on all that we do, we should be charging more than what we are. You know what I mean? And so you have to have the confidence in that. I really encourage you to grab a buddy, go. There are some agents, everybody's busy. So we don't want to just take from everyone, but I would say, hey, could I take you out to lunch? Could I treat you to coffee, and maybe go try and learn from someone, or you guys get together, practice with me. I'm happy to practice with you. But I think the thing is we can't just go in and practice on our clients, and every conversation is different. But the more you do this, the better you're going to get. But you have to know what you're so good at, that and go in there with confidence and articulate that and really stick to your guns. And sometimes if you lose one, because there's always people, I think they always kind of say there's like 15% of the population, they want the iBuyer, they want the discount. They're no matter what you say or do, they're going to want that. But and 15% of the population is going to want top luxury. They're going to pay over, right? But there's a lot of people also in the middle that are willing to pay if they know there's value. But if there's no value, they will not pay. Any questions on anything that we've talked about today? I have some action steps for you about practicing. Do the Cloud CMA, go through all of those tiles. Really practice your passion points and being able to articulate that and letting it roll off. And yours may be different from mine. I would encourage you to learn those 5 points of articulating your value, because you will have the commission question. So you need to know how to articulate that. Yeah, any questions from you guys, or any other tips, things y'all want to share that we didn't talk about today? This is where you're going to find the Thomas Wright presentation. It's actually on BF Office. I had to go kind of look for it because I had to dig a little bit. But if you go to BF Office Success Center, go to Agent Basics. It's actually one of in the Agent Basics. I just scrolled to the bottom, and this is what the page looked like when I clicked on the tile. Thomas Wright, Revolutionize Your Listing Presentation. So I would encourage you to listen to the whole thing. I've listened to it so many times, and it doesn't get old. So he does such just an amazing job of articulating. But any questions, any big takeaways, any things to add? JB, was that helpful? Do you feel like it was, like, you're a pro, so any other tips for us, or anything that you felt like you wanted to get that we didn't talk about?
No, I think I like the idea of practicing with a friend when you're getting started, or if you're rusty. Like sometimes I even talk through stuff, but like I just looked, I have 2 folders ready to go. And I basically just have a couple things to change out, but you need to get your plan together, create a seller's information folder. Anyone who's one of my mentees has access to it, because I keep it on the shared drive and I'm always just ready to go, because you don't want to be that one scrambling around.
Yeah. Yep. You don't. Good thoughts. Any other questions or thoughts? They're just, the more training is watch that full Thomas Wright. Also the SIR Brand Essentials class, you guys, again, I watch it over and over, and every single time I take it, there's a new you know, like something I'm like, oh, I need to be kind of articulating that or adding that into conversations, not just listing presentations, but just, it's just good to know. And then I do have a part 2 of this. It's managing the listing class and just talking about what that under contract process looks like. What does the communication look like? If you are in a market where, which I know we haven't been so much right now, of earning the right for a price reduction, we do kind of talk about that. That's kind of step 2 of this. But I think the transaction management side of taking care of our clients is so important. So I'm trying to convince JB to do a white glove class with me too. So maybe sometime later this year, maybe we can do something like that, just in general, of how to take care of our clients in the best way. So any other closing thoughts, questions? Okay, well, I have talked your ears off, so I hope that was helpful. And just let me know if you have anything, and I'll follow up with you guys with some material for you. All right, well, y'all have an amazing day.